Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about hedge trimmers, and we'd like to thank Tanya Allison for liking and sharing the podcast. The first hedge trimmer was a hand-cranked model made in 1922, and they called it the Little Wonder. It was made in the UK, and pasta makers found that it was excellent for cutting fresh pasta into strips. In 1935, a U.S. company took over the brand, and Little Wonder made the first electric-powered hedge trimmer in 1940, and then they created the first gasoline hedge trimmer in 1955, and they still make hedge trimmers today. There's three types of hedge trimmers: gas, corded electric, and cordless electric. Gas is going to be the most powerful, great for large properties, lots of hedges or plants. It's going to go through tough branches, and you're not restricted by extension cords or battery life. It cuts fast and can be used on wet plants and in damp weather. Some of the drawbacks: gas is going to be heavier, noisier. You're going to need to run out and get gas. You've got to maintain the oil, the air filter, spark plugs, fuel filter. There's going to be a lot more steps to prepare it for the off-season. Harder to start. And most models have a gearbox that needs to be greased, whereas most electric are sealed, so you don't have to lubricate that gearbox, but not all of them. So you should check your manual. Electric corded hedge trimmers are going to be lighter, less expensive, and quieter than gas, but not as powerful. And you're going to be limited by the length of your extension cord, the placement of your outlets. And most of the models I saw, they were in that 5 to 3 amp range.
5 to 3?
I can count backwards. So a lightweight 16 gauge outdoor rated cord that's grounded is going to work fine, and you can usually pick up a 100-foot 16-gauge cord on sale for around $20, and that's going to be rated at 10 amps. You want to avoid wet plants and damp weather when you're plugged in, and you want to plug into a GFCI protected outlet.
So my parents in front of their house always had bushes, which thankfully they finally got rid of. But my mom was the one that always cut the bushes with the hedge trimmer. And she always had a corded one, which she consistently tried to make a cordless one because she cut through every single cord.
Which is one reason a lot of people have been killed. You cut through the cord, and if you're, if it's wet out or you're working with wet plants, and
she was like a maniac swinging that sucker all around. And I think every single outdoor extension cord was cut. It had had duct tape on it forever. So.
GFCI.
Yeah.
With cordless electric hedge trimmers, you've got great mobility, but you're restricted to the battery life, backup batteries, and your charge time. And the power of your model is going to vary with the battery size. In general, the higher the voltage, the more power you're going to get. A little more expensive than a basic corded model. Great for medium and light projects and maintaining plants. Some can be heavier than electric corded. But with the corded and cordless hedge trimmers, you're going to have less maintenance. There's going to be less work on the off-season for storage. You have no exhaust fumes or quiet. Many models are going to have a brushless motor on the cordless, which are more reliable, longer lasting, and more efficient, and you don't have those brushes to replace. Hedge trimmers have single action or dual action blades. A single action blade has one blade that's moving back and forth along the cutting bar. With a dual action blade, you have a pair of blades that are moving back and forth in opposite directions. So the dual action blades, they're cutting faster, you're going to have less jams, less vibration. And then hedge trimmers can also be single-sided or double-sided. And the most common is double-sided, so very easy to handle and maneuver back and forth on bushes. Great for tight areas. They're going to be a little more versatile. With the single-sided, they're a little lighter, so they generally have longer blades, and many of the single-sided are designed for commercial use, so you're working down long lengths of hedges, so you can maintain just a nice, solid forward motion, so you can cut very easy. And some of the single-sided come with a clipping collector. So it's like a flat bar that catches the branches, and then you can use that to flip it off into piles.
Because my mom would just let it all fall, and me and my sister would have to go pick it all up.
Get on there and get to work.
Yeah.
You want your allowance. Cutting diameter for hedge trimmers are going to range from 1/4 inch for the mini trimmers up to 1 inch. 3/8 to 3/4 is the most common size. And check your hedges and plants before you purchase. You want to match the size or just go large. It's kind of goof proof. You can get blades that are steel, high carbon steel, or stainless steel, and there's going to be a variety of grades of metal. But a basic steel blade, it's going to be the least expensive, but it's going to nick and corrode easier than like a high carbon, a stainless steel, or a hardened steel. With the high carbon steel blades, these are going to stay sharper much longer than stainless steel, and it's easier to sharpen, which I thought was very interesting. High carbon steel is going to be more brittle, so make sure you're only cutting branches with your tool. You don't want to try to cut through wire or other material. Stainless steel is going to be more resistant to corrosion, less brittle, and then you're going to see titanium-coated blades for strength. And some of these blades are designed to be sharpened with a file. Other blades need to be just replaced.
So, yeah, I didn't know that you could sharpen them.
Yeah, many of the inexpensive ones you don't, but check your manual. Some pros suggest sharpening blades after 50 to 60 hours of use.
That's a lot of trimming.
And at some hardware stores, they'll sharpen the blades for you, or they'll send it out to be sharpened, or they'll have a kit. The Ego Company, E-G-O, they recommend putting a thin coat of a multi-purpose oil, like a 3-in-1 oil, on the blades before and after each use, and then run it for a couple of seconds. If you're using it for a long time and it sounds like the motor's working a little harder, they suggest stopping and lubricating the blades. Stihl, S-T-I-H-L, recommends you wipe down the blades after each use with a resin solvent and then run it for a couple of seconds. Fluid film was recommended by a few mechanics. This is a lanolin-based lubricant and a corrosion preventative. It's non-toxic, it won't damage the plants, and they say it's very popular with maintenance crews on golf courses. The blade length is going to vary. 16 inches to 24 inches are the most popular. You want to measure the width of your hedge before you purchase a hedge trimmer. It's going to be easier and faster if you can trim the height with one pass rather than doing half from one side and then finishing from the opposite side. And the longer blades are going to make it easier to work on the sides to shape large bushes. You're going to have less bending. If you have small plants and want to maintain a small size, then a shorter blade is going to give you more control. You're going to see wider tooth extensions on some cutting bars, and this is designed to help keep the blade from getting too close to your body or getting caught on your clothing. The second handle can either be a T-shape, a side bar, or a full wrap.
What do you mean by a second handle?
So you're holding it with two hands. One hand is at the back of the unit working your trigger, and then your second hand is going to be on an additional handle just behind the blade.
Okay.
And that loop shape, or that full wrap, is almost like a D handle and a shovel.
Okay.
So it's going to give you more areas to grip it. You're going to have, it's more control and more comfort. A lot of times that T shape is difficult if you're using it on its side. Single blade trimmers are usually just going to have the side handle. You can get rotating handles, which is going to make it much easier to cut angles if you have a large project. Shields are behind the blade to protect your hand from cut branches or thorns. And some trimmers are going to have a level on top to help keep your cut straight. You can get locking triggers, and this is going to keep the unit on without holding the trigger down the whole time for a large project. For electric models, a pigtail plug is going to make it easier to connect to an extension cord.
What is that?
So on some models, you're going to have just the plug at the very base of the unit. You take an extension cord and you just plug into it. With a pigtail plug, you've got a length of cord with the plug on the end of that, and that way you can make a loop or a loose knot and tie the extension cord to this pigtail, and now it's going to keep it from pulling apart as you're walking around your yard trimming your hedges.
So why is it called a pigtail?
Most electricians call it that. So like if you're connecting multiple wires to one screw terminal on an electrical device, you're going to put all the wires underneath a wire connector. You're going to cut 1 6-inch length of wire so that you only have one wire connected to a screw terminal, and electricians call that a pigtail.
Okay, but that has, like, I understand 2 wires, okay? And that's considered a pigtail.
Okay.
So let me school you on hair. Okay, so if you're pulling your hair back into one tail, you know, that's called a ponytail.
All right.
But if you're putting 2 tails in your head, then it's called pigtails.
Really?
So
I wonder why.
I don't know, but so that's why I'm confused about the pigtail on the hedge trimmer.
Maybe on the next podcast we'll do a little research. For gas models, anti-vibration units are going to reduce fatigue, and it's going to help prevent Raynaud's syndrome.
What is that?
So this is where your fingers or toes go into vasospasms.
Okay, so what's that?
It limits the amount of blood flow that's going to your hand. Your hands go numb, your skin turns white, they feel cold, and you get this stinging pain. And then after an attack, the skin turns red, it swells, and starts throbbing.
Wow, this is terrible.
And what's wild is doctors still don't know all the reasons for an attack, but they know that people that have repetitive action in their job, or if they work with tools that have high vibration, it increases the risk of developing Raynaud's.
Huh.
So a lot of the pros are recommending, if you're working with a hedge trimmer, especially gas, and it doesn't have the anti-vibration in it, or if you're not wearing anti-vibration gloves, take a break every 30 to 45 minutes, stretch, and shake your arms out. There are some specialty hedge trimmers you can get. You can get long reach hedge trimmers. Some are called pole trimmers, and they have adjustable heads for large bushes. You can put some at like a 90-degree angle if you have very large hedges. Some of these are going to look like a hedge trimmer on the end of a weed trimmer. And then you can get mini trimmers. Some come with interchangeable grass shear blades. Sunjo has a cordless 5-inch hedge trimmer blade, and then it converts to a 3-inch wide grass shear.
Yeah, I saw these when I was looking for pictures for my Twitter account.
Okay.
For when we did, what did we do? Pruners.
Okay.
So the Sunjo one, they come in different colors.
Yeah. Fancy. Ryobi, they've got an 8-inch mini hedge trimmer, and then it converts to a 4-inch grass blade, and that's a cordless 18-volt. So it's really nice if you have just small hedges and you want to maintain them. This is just an easy way to do it. And then if you have landscape areas, rather than pulling out a trimmer for just small areas, the grass shears do a nice job. To maintain your hedge trimmer, clean off and lube the blades after each use to keep dirt, sap, and moisture from corroding the blades.
Clean them off with what?
I would just take an old rag and wipe them off, get the dirt and moisture off, and then lube them up, run it for a couple of seconds. Sharpen the tool when it's not cutting easily through branches if you have a model that can be sharpened. At some point with these inexpensive ones, you're just going to have to replace the whole blade, or some are so inexpensive you'll just replace it after a few years.
Right.
With gas, most models are going to be a 2-cycle engine, so you're going to need to mix a 2-cycle engine oil with your gas in your gas can. Fill your gas can, mix your oil in, add a fuel stabilizer all at the same time, and you're done. Make sure you're checking your ratio. Is it a 32-to-1, a 40-to-1, or a 50-to-1?
32-to-1, really?
Yes.
I mean, why would they pick 32?
What, you like a different number? You like, it should be 30, 40, and 50-to-1.
Yeah. Doesn't that make more sense?
For gas trimmers, check your manual for the recommended routine to replace the air filter, spark plug, and oil. For off-season storage, you want to fill the tank 95% full with gas with a stabilizer in it. And for these small engines, a lot of mechanics are recommending a fogging oil. So
wow, you're really big on the fogging oil lately.
So with the fogging oil, you're going to remove your air filter, you're going to turn on your unit, and you're going to spray the fogging oil into the air intake until it smokes. Then you're going to turn it off.
Or fogs.
Right. Then you're going to take out the spark plug, spray for 3 seconds into the cylinder. You're going to pull the starter cord a couple of times, replace the plug, and this is going to lubricate and protect for long-term storage against corrosion.
Who knew?
For safety, wear goggles, dust mask for large projects, anything that's over 85 decibels, you want to wear hearing protection, wear leather gloves, pants, shoes. If you have electric model, manage your cord. Hey, make sure you have a GFCI rated outlet or protected by a GFCI. In the UK, you want an RDC outlet.
What is that?
So that's residual current device rather than ground fault circuit interrupter. With electric, don't work on wet plants or in damp weather. You don't want to use a ladder. You want to make sure that you're standing on surfaces that are secure. Get anti-vibration gloves if you have a unit that's really, it vibrates a lot.
Right.
Or if you're thinking about purchasing a gas unit, get one that says anti-vibration. You always want to use 2 hands to control the trimmer, and don't remove the hand guards. For trimming bushes, start when they're young. Gardeners say that if you start pruning consistently when a bush is young, it's going to encourage thick growth rather than long branches with leaves just on the ends. And so when you trim it, you're going to see just all these bare branches. Most bushes can be lightly trimmed anytime during the year to maintain a good look. You never want to remove more than 1/3 of the plant. Some top-rated gas hedge trimmers, and these all have very cool names. Husqvarna, Husqvarna, Poulan, Poulan, Stihl, Stihl, and Tanaka, Tanaka. And Tanaka has models with a 7-year warranty. And then Little Wonder, easy to spell. And they have a 5-year warranty on theirs. For corded models, Black & Decker has a ton of models that are very highly rated, inexpensive. You can get a lot of these on sale very cheap. Little Wonder, they have a 2-year guarantee on their corded. Toro and Greenworks. Cordless trimmers, Echo, ECHO, they've got a 58-volt with a brushless motor that's rated very high. It has a 5-year warranty. Ryobi, RYOBI, their 40-volt is rated very high. Ego, their 56-volt. And Husqvarna, they have a battery backpack for their Pro trimmer. And then Black & Decker has one that's very interesting. It's 60-volt cordless. It's called their Power Cut with a saw blade tip. So it has a regular hedge trimmer blade.
Right.
And on the very end, there's a little section that has a saw blade. So if you run into something, let's say, that's bigger than 3/4 of an inch or an inch,
right,
you can just use the tip of this and cut through it just like a saw.
Fancy.
For pole trimmers, Husqvarna and Echo, their gas models were rated the highest. Greenworks for cordless and Earthwise for corded.
Do you have anything else to add?
If you only plan on trimming hedges a couple of times a year, or you have small bushes, an inexpensive corded hedge trimmer is probably the perfect tool.
Right.
Easy to use, little maintenance. If you plan on getting a cordless model, you want to make sure that you're keeping that battery charged, especially if it's lithium ion. And then during the off season, you want to make sure it has a full charge. And then match the length of the blade and the cutting diameter to your largest hedges, and lubricate the blades after every use.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, the Spotify mobile app, the Google Play Music app, and iHeartRadio.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our books, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.